I'm joined today by Think Smart Tutoring and the owner of Think Smart Tutoring, Julie Walsh. Whether you have a child that's homeschooled or your kids are in public or private school, if you have a child that is struggling to read, it can be very frustrating and worrisome. We all know that reading is fundamental. Once a child learns to read, all other subjects in school become easier and academic opportunities become endless. Julie here has been teaching kids to read for nearly 15 years. She is the owner of Think Smart Tutoring and uses one of the most successful research-based methods to get kids to read. And Julie, from the little bit that I've known you, I've gotten to watch you work with your students. I've gotten to talk to some parents who have their kids enrolled in your program. If there is one thing I can say with 100% confidence, it's that if anyone can get a child to read, it is you. So I want you to talk about the spectrum of reading levels of the children that come to you, and also talk about your motto, which is doing whatever it takes to get kids to read.
Oh yes, we do whatever it takes to get them to read. We have a wide variety of kids that come. We have kids with learning difficulties, kids with behavior problems. We have 4-year-olds that come. We have high schoolers, elementary schoolers, and middle schoolers. We have a lot of different kind of kids that come. We have kids with disabilities and kids with no disabilities, just kids who are just having a tough time learning how to read.
Whether the child is little, 3 years old, a lot of parents might want to get their kids reading early. You work with those kids. Behavioral problems, you have a lot of kids that have behavioral problems, kids that have actually been called illiterate. Teachers have said this child will never learn to read. You have been able to actually get those kids to read.
We do whatever it takes. We do, if it takes giving them reinforceable edibles, we do that. If it takes just, woohoo, way to go, give me a high five, we do that too. We do, you know, you can work for a break. You can work to pet my dogs. You can work for me to do the happy dance. Whatever it takes, we're willing to do it.
I want to talk about one of your students, Mitch. We have some video that I want to show you of his improvement in reading. When he first came to you, where was Mitch at with his reading level?
Mitch was not reading. He had been to other tutors in the past, and he started in October, and he was not reading. He wouldn't even read the entrance, the beginning stuff, just so I can see where he was and what he still needed to learn. He was like, I can't do it, I can't do it. And you know, from then, we've moved him up so fast that now he's reading. He's almost right at the 3rd grade level. He's really, really close.
Let's watch this clip for a second, and then I'm going to show you his improvement.
A seed sat on a rock. The seed fell in the sand. The sand got wet. A tree is in the sand.
Wow, that was fast and excellent.
Show my parents.
I will.
He wanted to show his parents. So that was lesson 38. A little bit later, we have an improvement. I want you to talk about his improvement here after we watch it.
Okay, this is Mitch on lesson 65. Go ahead.
A green frog was in a bathtub. A red bug said, "Can I get in the tub?" Whisk, you know. The frog said, "This tub is for me." The bug said, "But I need a bath." The frog said, "Go hop in the sink." That is what the bug did. It went for a swim in the sink.
Awesome!
I just love seeing how excited he is, and that's a lot of kids. If they can't read, it's not just hard, it's embarrassing. It decreases their confidence. That improvement there, about how much time had you been working with Mitch?
Gosh, we started in October, and so it's been, what, 5 months? And he has moved really fast, really far.
And that's just incredible to me that a child who has been not able to read in school, and that's going to make everything else so much harder, works with you for 5 months, and you already see that kind of improvement. A lot of parents, you kind of have to give them a little warning, and I like to joke about that, that if their kids work with you, they're not just going to be able to read, they're going to love reading. We have some pictures of your girls, who you actually have 2 girls, and they were actually reading at the ages of 3 and 4, and you would always catch them reading with headlamps or flashlights in their beds, underneath their covers, and this is something that you hear from a lot of parents as well, once their kids work with you.
Oh yes, we encourage it, we highly encourage it. There's Camille, she's hiding under the covers, so I can't even see her headlamp shining.
I just love that. Talk about what makes your program so successful, especially comparing it to how most schools teach kids, which is most schools will teach kids sight words. You teach kids
Sound
read, the
them
process
out.
of sounding out words. So talk about that difference.
Well, we take kids from where they are. So if we have a continuum of kids, wherever that child is on the continuum, we teach them right where they're at. And then we slowly add pieces on that we teaching the most common sounds first and then the most common words and adding all those pieces together. So it's not like we add a big chunk on at a time. It's little pieces at a time, and then we're teaching the student right where he's at. So we're not teaching them up here. If they're over here, we're teaching them exactly where they are, because it's all one-on-one. We do all one-on-one, and our tutors are highly trained, and every kid's successful because we're going to do whatever it takes, waiting them out sometimes.
Yeah, some kids who have the behavioral problems, you have this lady, literally, I'm not joking, you've told me stories of parents who brought their kids who have behavioral problems, and the kids, you've seen them in class, they just refuse to work. And it's not because they're trying to necessarily be bad kids, but for them, not being able to read is a huge standard of failure for them. And so
it's easier to become a behavior problem than it is to show that you can't read.
That's one thing that you need to kind of reiterate to parents, is that it can be very painful to watch your child struggle. As parents, we just want to fix their problems. So when your child is fighting back and they just don't want to read and they don't want to read, eventually you probably just give in and say, okay, go to bed. I'm sorry it's hard, honey. You have waited kids out before for hours. Sometimes it takes you waiting for 4 or 5 hours.
It does.
You know, for a kid to finally break that barrier and actually try. And once you wait them out and they realize, okay, this lady isn't going to let me get out of here and not read, they can then start learning. So talk about that fear that parents have and why it's so important.
Some of the parents don't like to see the kids struggle. And we tell them, it's okay. Reading is really hard. Reading is hard for them. And so I'm going to teach them a way that they're going to get it, but the kid has to trust me. And sometimes getting that trust takes a little bit because they've had a lot of failure and they've had a lot of things that just haven't worked for them. So, and when they come to me, I say, I promise you it's going to work, because almost every kid I've ever had, I've been able to teach to read. So we just wait them out. We just say, whenever you're ready, let me know and we can get started. And I just wait.
Well, you have a Facebook page that I want to tell everyone to check out, because if this hasn't been proof enough for you, your Facebook page will be proof enough that you can get kids to read. You post shout-out videos for kids who you have their parents' permission. The kids love it a lot of times. It makes them feel like superstars. But I have seen videos of you teaching kids with extremely hard learning disabilities who finally can read. It's really, really inspiring. So Think Smart Tutoring on Facebook. You can go to your website at thinksmarttutoring.com. You have a phone number if people want to get questions about enrolling their students. It's 509-990-4495. They can also email you at thinksmarttutoring@gmail.com.